So all these years we thought the Gomu Gomu no Mi is real. We thought that Luffy has the devil fruit Gomu Gomu no Mi, which just made him rubber. But when he transformed into other forms, we thought that it was just his creativity helping him to use his rubber body effectively. But we was hugely mistaken. Luffy's devil fruit is in Gomu Gomu no Mi. Oda Sensei was trolling us for the past 20 years. I mean, he ingrained into our minds that Luffy's fruit is Gomu Gomu no Mi, as Luffy shouts Gomu Gomu no before every single attack. It is actually Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. So Luffy's fruit is in a paramecia type. It is actually a zoan fruit type. With this mythical zoan fruit type, he can transform into Sun God Nika and gain ultimate freedom. Nika is said to bring smile to people's faces. Luffy's body becomes completely free and he is able to move freely and use his surroundings as per his wish. This fruit gives him ultimate power to use his body easily and become extremely flexible. When fighting with Kaido, Luffy was in a near-death state. It is when he awakened this devil fruit. He was laughing and toying with Kaido after that. He even used Kaido as a gem rope. He was able to take a giant form and crush Kaido. Luffy was also able to fully take on Kaido's attacks as his body nullified all the effects of the attacks. Luffy was able to control his surroundings and his opponents freely like rubber objects. He even made the ground smooth and stretchy like rubber. Now let's see how Oda Sensei made us believe that it was Gomu Gomu no Mi. Luffy ate this devil fruit once he was small. Shanks was the one that told him it is Gomu Gomu no Mi. Maybe Shanks was hiding the fact that it is a highly powerful devil fruit in order to protect Luffy. The ones who eat this devil fruit is called the Warrior of Liberation. This devil fruit makes the body of the user permanently rubbery. Unlike other zoan devil fruits, the power doesn't need to be activated. It is always active. Luffy was basically immune to hand-to-hand combat without haki, bullets, cannons, as it all bounces right off his body. Since Luffy ate the devil fruit once he was small, he trained with the devil fruit in order to have control over his body and become strong. As his body permanently became rubber, he needed to intentionally make his body into a human form. Luffy trained to fight with his Gomu Gomu powers. It wasn't only the outside of Luffy's body that was rubber. All his internal organs, bones, muscles, etc. was made of rubber. This was the thing that gave him freedom to come forward with Gear 2, Gear 3 and Gear 4. In Luffy's Gear 2, he uses the properties of rubber to pump his blood at faster rates. It gave him increased stats and this made him faster. Essentially what he was doing is comparable to doping. He was increasing red blood cells in the body parts which allows for greater delivery of oxygen and nutrients which in turn grants him a power up. In Luffy's Gear 3, Luffy pumped air through his rubber-like bones, making his arms or legs larger than that of a giant. Since bones are hard, it gave him power to punch hard as a giant. He is able to transfer that air throughout his body. It showed us a possibility that Luffy could transform into a full-form giant in the future. Now Luffy's Gear 4, it is drastically different from his other two forms. In order to get into this form, Luffy blows his muscles with air and coat his body with armor and haki. This makes him a bigger and stronger person. His body was still rubbery even after coating with armor and haki. This form gives Luffy a far more enhanced capabilities than other two forms. He could fly by compressing and decompressing his rubber legs at a higher rate, sort of like he is kicking air. Luffy uses his compressive properties more in this form. He compresses his punches like a spring and shoots it, giving it an overwhelming power which sends his enemies flying. He was able to extend his arms to extremely long distances. Luffy used various forms in Gear 4 like Bounce Man, Snake Man and Tank Man. Each had its advantages and disadvantages. Until this, Luffy hasn't awakened his devil fruit. It was when he awakened his devil fruit when fighting with Kaido we understood that it wasn't a paramecia devil fruit Gomu Gomu no Mi, but instead it was a zoan devil fruit Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. It displayed an overwhelming power which made the strongest creature Kaido look weak. Upon awakening, the physical appearances and powers are transformed to a much higher level. Luffy took on the constant laughter of Nika. His hair and eyebrows turned white. Also, white clouds formed around his neck. In terms of power, it gave him ultimate freedom and he was able to control his body however he likes. This power was terrifying and invincible. It was equivalent to an awakened paramecia and an awakened zoan. Luffy was able to transform his surroundings to rubber. He was able to deflect Kaido's attacks using the rubbery ground to change its trajectory. He was also able to momentarily transform Kaido's body into a rubber-like surface. The heartbeat of Luffy in this form was described as drums of liberation. In this form, the ability to control their body was only limited to users' imagination. Luffy was able to run on air and also transform himself to a giant. It was a ridiculous power. Due to these abilities, it is said by the government that in all the world there is no power more ridiculous than the awakened abilities of Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. The world government was well aware of the powers of this fruit. It is an extremely powerful devil fruit. It was stolen from the government by Shanks before Luffy ate it. The world government said to immediately kill Luffy when they knew he was possessing the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. This devil fruit is linked with the Void Century. The Yami Yami no Mi can be a weakness of this fruit. As Blackbeard is able to completely nullify devil fruit powers, he can easily inflict damage on Luffy. This was shown when Blackbeard grabbed Luffy and tossed him into the ground, which made him bleed. The fight between Blackbeard and Luffy will be an interesting one. We don't know whether Blackbeard can nullify the awakened form of Luffy. It will be a tough fight for Luffy. Do you think Luffy will be able to easily defeat Blackbeard? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you in another video.